Welcome to the X Podcast, sitting here across from Tim Moore. And I got two gentlemen that keep blocking my dreams.
Blocking your dreams?
Blocking my dreams.
Actually, probably just one.
I got Trae Castles and Tucker Johnson.
Which dream?
I have a dream to sing.
Sing? I know it.
My talent's out.
Well, you can do it right now.
Well,
no one's blocking.
I don't want to make them feel insecure.
No one's blocking.
So,
Tell me what song. I'll put it on my phone.
well, that'll be part two.
Oh.
But no, how long has it been since y'all were on the podcast last? It's been a couple years. I think everybody in our faith community knows these two, but on staff, they lead so much creative worship, and you see them every Sunday morning. And the thing that people usually when they visit our church talk about the most is how impactful and powerful our worship music is. And so it's fun to have them.
Usually I thought they talk about the message.
I mean, honestly,
I didn't think that.
Don't go to Welcome to the X because they don't talk about the hosting or the preaching as much as you would.
I thought for sure they would.
No, so
I love that.
I just thought it'd be a fun conversation. We're in the middle of a series on worship. I'm curious, how did this come about? The idea to do a series where we just talk about what is worship,
It was Tucker's
why do we
fault.
worship?
It was my fault.
It was Tucker's fault. Actually, he had texted me kind of out of the blue. This was probably, a month and a half ago maybe or something like that. And I'd actually been thinking about it for a while. Like I had some similar thoughts that he did, and he just texted me out of the blue. He's like, I don't know if we'd ever want to do this, but maybe doing a series on worship and, this and this. And I said, and I wrote him back, I said, oddly enough, I'd been thinking about this, very thing. And so that's how and then it just happened. It just rolled. I'm like, well, let's do it in July. So moved some stuff out of the way, and I just felt like, it kind of had one of those, I don't know if I'd say like burden type things, but just kind of felt like an impetus. Like, let's do this. Let's do it right now.
And you kicked it off in a really interesting way.
We did. Very first week, because I don't know if it'd be a surprise everywhere, but our church kind of begins with usually a countdown that's got a lot of energy. People are standing a full minute before it begins, anticipating. It's just kind of like we start off with a lot of energy, and we decided to start off with a message instead. So no one knew, so it was kind of funny. So everybody's standing there clapping, the timer hits 0, and then all of a sudden the lights come up, and I was just walking on, and it was just like, hey, this is great. Thanks for standing for me. I appreciate that. You can be seated. And then we just went right into a message, and we did worship music after the thing, but it really did shift the atmosphere a little bit. I think it was jolting to our church, which is kind of what was kind of hoping for. In fact, we have something different and unique to change up our Sunday experience every single week of the series. And so I don't know what time this will come out, if it come out after we're done, but every single week we are just approaching it with something very different.
I know we're going to get into a lot of the concepts you talk about in the series, but I'm just curious. Y'all can go as long as you want to take, but I think we've done podcasts before. We've really talked more from creative angle about just different things going on in society, whether it's AI, what leading a creative team looks like, but what's, in a nutshell, each of your stories, how you got into worship?
Here we go. I mean, I was in music for forever. I mean, I think worship was something I think that was formed probably in my teen years, but I did piano when I was 6, and then when that was not cool, I started playing guitar.
Was that a family thing?
No. My mom doesn't really listen to music unless it's me.
That's cute.
That's cute.
She would say that I got it because she sang to me, though. I got music because she sang.
Cool.
My dad has always loved music, so I mean we always had music around, but actually playing it and being a part of creating it is probably newer for my family. But in high school, I mean, I was in all kinds of bands, punk rock bands and heavy bands.
You're a metal band.
Screamo band.
No, that's weak.
Oh, sorry.
Band.
Weak metal.
Band.
Yes.
No, but so I was doing that all the time, and also leading worship just in my youth group. I have I had a great youth pastor who was a musician and just gave me space to be me. And I remember playing lead guitar for a couple times probably playing all of the wrong notes. But I heard them, and I thought I was doing well. But just learn to be on stage, and from being in bands, you learn to be in front of people, and then really, I always say like there was like one moment because I would lead worship in church. That's just what I did. I just part of it, but then I had my pastor at one point just say, "I just love it when you lead worship." And I think that was like the first moment that's like, oh, like this can.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. I thought I was just playing music, and which I think obviously speaks to like what we speak over people is really big.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And then I led worship at a church plant right out of high school. Swore I'd never work in a church, and then worked there for about 6 years, and then moved up to Ohio and have been in ministry since I was 18. And so just very grateful for the people who have been a part of letting me learn what leading worship is, and letting me be my weird, creatives are weird. And so to be able to be your weird creative self and also be able to do it in church and also be able to do that while providing for your family is very rare. Mm-hmm. So just feel very, very honored for that. So that's really quick.
That's cool.
My story is really similar. I was in so many metal
Yeah,
bands,
you were.
so many screamo bands.
I wish you were.
That'd be crazy. No, I grew up in the church. My mom worked for a church, and so I was very familiar what Baptist Sunday worship looked like from a young age. And my mom has a picture of me when I was like 4 or 5. They had a Christmas service at our church, and they were like, it would be really cute to have like a little kid sing a song. And so my mom has this picture of me. I sang Let It Snow, and I grabbed the mic, and my mom said I owned the stage. Like I was walking front to back to side singing Let It Snow. And so from there, I don't know if Let It Snow was the start, but I've just been singing since I was little.
Why did you lead worship?
Because I sang Let It Snow.
And right then, God poured out fire. And said, He's going to lead the nation. No. Grew up in church, sang in the youth group band. When I got to making a decision for college and a career, I wanted to be a math teacher and go.
Wow. That's rough.
I know. I really used my calculator for like 10 plus 15. Now I really was going to teach math to some kids. But anyway, had a gap where I spent a year at home due to some end of high school, things with my family. I just wanted to spend one more year at home. And in that year, I got an internship at my mom's church and was just doing worship for fun and started doing graphics on my phone. And somebody prophetically came up to me and was like, you're called to do this. And God gave me a vision of you leading across America and leading people in worship. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I just happened to be going to a Young Life camp that summer to work. And so for 2 months, I just prayed about it and kept asking God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And I feel like in that summer, it was so clearly I want you to serve the church and I want you to be in my church. And so I went to Liberty University and studied music and worship and minored in graphic design. And ever since, I've been doing it, loving it.
Wow. That's awesome.
This is probably a big question, but with probably a few different answers. But from the time you started leading worship to now, what's maybe one way that you've had a mindset shift of, okay, this is what I thought it meant, or this is what it meant then, and here's how I look at leading worship now?
Yeah, I think when I started leading worship, it was so me focused. I just wanted to grow and be better and learn keys and play guitar. And I feel like being a worship leader and being someone in ministry that works in worship, my eyes have drifted completely to I want to develop other people. And so I feel like from the beginning, it was I need to get better and I want to get better. And I feel like now it's been no, what I'm called to do is pull that out of other people. Which is a fun shift. And also I just feel like my burden for people to encounter God in worship and what it looks like to carry it through their weeks has increased because I know how much it's sustained me and carried me. And trying to figure out ways to like communicate that to people without just like shaking them or like freaking them out and making it feel like something that's not obtainable. So
It's cool.
I think if I look at like the last, I guess like 20 years now of worship, it's kind of like cyclical almost. Because coming out of high school, it's like I want to be creative and artistic, and I think I remember thinking like churches should be creative and they should be artistic and they should push our culture in that, and that was like a focus. Like I think in a healthy way, but as probably an 18-year-old, the way that they would. And then I don't remember where. I don't know if it was like a conference or just an event, but like one of the exercises was like it's really good for if you're in worship to define like what does that look like for you? What is worship? Because if you're leading people in worship, you probably have to have a decent understanding of what it is, and it stuck with me. I remember writing it down of kind of where I felt like that landed in my life and for the churches that I got to be a part of. And it was just very simple. It's worship is living for and responding to the glory of God. And I think so, like maybe taking from the focus was like, I just want to be creative and artistic to like, okay, how can I be creative and artistic and let this be a response to God? And then probably had some years of like kind of coming back around to like, in the church that I found myself in was not at the time was not a very creative church. And so that was very like created this dissonance within me of like, I am not being who I've been created to be, but really felt like in those moments, I really learned how to care for the people that I was pastoring and shepherding. Does that make sense? So instead of like, kind of similar to what you said, like it's probably a little bit more of a me focus of like want to be creative and artistic, but then like really learned how can I, what I'm doing goes way beyond just preference. And I knew that, but really learned it being in a church that was less creative, less what you would probably say modern. And feel like the 3.5 years that I was in that environment, I probably learned more about what it meant to be a worship leader than ever before.
Wow.
And then being able to come back around, I would say probably in my last few years of like that inner artist is like has begun really resurfacing. But I feel like in a really healthy way because it's built on what does it mean to lead and care for the people. Because I do think the church should lead the way in creativity and art. And I think that that we have a great opportunity to do it. And so I think, pull it back to that definition of responding, living for and responding to what was hammered home for me as a teenager was like worship is a lifestyle. Worship is lifestyle. Yeah. Worship is lifestyle. And I, really began to learn that. But like even now, just beginning to discover what does it mean to actually encounter God through every moment. And that doesn't just mean I'm singing a song, right?
Yeah.
But it's a life of worship. What does it mean to recognize God is in this very moment, in this conversation I'm having? God is in this song I'm listening to that's not a worship song. Like God is the ultimate creator, so he's kind of weaving himself in and out of a lot of that. And so that's kind of where I find myself kind of today. And cool. Then how do I foster that with the people that I get to lead?
That's cool.
So, I like the way you guys expressed, both of you, like even calling, because I think it's true no matter what area in ministry. It is funny though, but as you were saying, I'm like, when most people go into ministry, it is very, I think, like it's like I was called. I had this burden. I feel like I'm supposed to do this. And I think all of us have
to reach people.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you get into ministry and you realize, oh, it's not about me. It's about serving. It's about leading. It's about sacrificing. And I don't think that it takes a while for that to connect. And I think you can tell a difference in any kind of environment, I think through preaching, through the music portion, through whatever, when the heart or the spirit of the people leading it is, I'm here to lead and serve rather than I'm here to use my gifts to do my thing. And that's what I appreciate about you guys. I think the culture, one of the things I've picked up on in the last few years, I think we've worked really hard, you guys have worked really hard, is trying to define what I would say is just a really beautiful culture behind the scenes, like with the team and what we're trying to do. So I would love to kind of just pull back the curtain a little bit for people. So let's, I think a lot of people always wonder what it's like working at a church. So let's talk about it, practically speaking. What are some of the things that you guys have both kind of like found that is not the Sunday morning, we're leading this song, this band, this whatever that goes with worship ministry? Because I think that's a lot of people it's the same thing I think with pastoring. They're like, okay, what you do is to prepare so you can preach that message. There's so much more to ministry than that, but that's what people see. So I think they show up on Sunday and they see you guys up here leading and doing the songs and orchestrating a lot, because a lot of what we do, and you guys really help, is orchestrate the flow of the whole entire day, the experience, all that. How can you give some people an idea of like what's it like beyond just the leading part on Sunday?
Man, I think like we just said, one thing I think that's unique about us is I don't think that giftings triumph all. Like I don't think the most gifted leader or the most gifted singer gets the most time, the most songs, the most everything. Really what it's been is getting in the messy things in people's life and just doing life together and getting to know people. And I think that's something that I feel like the past couple of years has been one of the biggest shifts. Is when I started working here in 2020, I had so many people before me that had just done a great job at like setting up musical excellence and ways to prepare musicians and like the nitty gritty, like chord charts and like who's leading what and how you stand on the stage and all that. And so I feel like for a while, I just kind of maintained and probably didn't do as good of a job as Trae did at organizing, but tried to maintain with all of my strengths and organization. But I just felt this disconnect of like, we can keep doing this and we can keep going. But I feel like I just, for the first time, had like a hunger for like, I want more for our team and I want more for our worship leaders and I want to grow people and develop people. And I don't want to just have like 5 strangers on a platform and like us sing songs and then move on. And I just feel like really challenged with different, speakers and leaders that I had hammered into my head that like your worship team is the thermostat of your church. Like if you want to go deep, you will have a deep worship team. If you want your church to feel more connected to the Holy Spirit, your worship team needs to be connected to the Holy Spirit. And I think we both found ourselves in like, we don't really have things to like go back to or systems to like develop and grow people or even just like connect with people. And so I think we went back to the drawing board. And one thing that I feel like has been huge is we created 3 values that we kind of like run everything by, come back to in hard conversations, and just really hammer it in their head. And our 3 values are: we get to do this, we lead out of overflow, and we get out of the way. And I think those 3 things are just things that me and Trae had kind of got together, and we're like, okay, like in a dream world, like the most, who do we want to lead our church? Like what is the most anointed leader, whether they're on the drums or whether they're leading a song or they're playing keys, like what do we want their heart to be and their desires to be? And so I think putting those 3 values in front of people, it really just like eliminates like, anyone who's trying to come in here to like with a big name or with a big talent. And it really just points us back to, we want people that are leading out of overflow, people that walk with God, walk closely with him. And I think for me, it's been interesting to just see other churches, how they'll have like one person sing all 4 songs. And I'm like, that's good. I mean, I guest worship led a couple months ago at a church and I sang 3 songs and I was like, man, I never sing 3 songs. And he was like, why? Like, why don't, you're like the worship director. I'm like, yeah, but there's so many different voices and giftings and stories. And I think that's why we make it an emphasis. I mean, we have 20 worship leaders and around 15, 20. And I would say all of them in a calendar year lead multiple times, multiple songs. And it's just an amazing thing to let their story and what God's doing in them and what God has done through them to be almost a lens for people to connect with them, be like, hey, I've seen myself in your story, or I resonate with you in that way. And when you have one person who is the most talented or the most gifted doing everything, it just limits your reach to people. And it's fun to like give people opportunity and to have a bunch of people sing different songs at different times. And
I actually think it's a great compliment to y'all. If somebody's visiting for the first time, they may not know who is the leader.
Who's the full-time people?
I'm curious for going on, like those three values that y'all create. What, if you feel comfortable, what would be an example? Because you said, whether it's a hard conversation, maybe what would be an example of using one of those values as like a self-check? Or if you're having a conversation, like, okay, this is a specific way we use this to gauge or to move forward.
Man, I think one thing that I come back to all the time is we lead out of overflow. Like that is just accountability in a sentence. I think that there are times where if I feel, we have moments on Sundays where we'll have in between songs and we'll have transitions where it's like, okay, I'll fill in here. And there are times where I'm like, man, what am I going to say? Or like, I'll find myself going to like a YouVersion plan to like pull a one-liner out of it. And that's like instant check. Like, okay, if God hasn't spoke to me and like, if I haven't been in his word, because the times that I am in his word and that I spend time in prayer, even like over specific songs that I'm leading, it just feels like it just comes out of me. It just flows out of me. It's like, I'm not even thinking about what I'm saying. And obviously that's better than a YouVersion one-liner, or you know what I mean? And so just being in tune with the Spirit of God on like what he wants to say on that Sunday to that group of people, I think leading out of overflow has been the secret to that.
I think about the values, one that I think when you're on a stage, a platform, and you have lights on you.
Yeah.
Like growing up, it was always like, it was, another thing that really good value that was kind of like my leaders really tried to impart was the spotlight shouldn't be about you. Like you should not want the spotlight. You should not want, but like, it's really fun. Like it really is. Like it's really fun to be up here and be with, playing music with great musicians and have great lights that have been programmed, and like the environment that we create is really fun. And so I think there was just a moment, several years ago where it's like, oh, God is in that. God is in this. And so thinking about the value of we get out of the way is that balance of like being okay with this is fun and this is what I was created to do. But like the goal is not for people to leave and remember, man, Trae is just so cool.
Which is hard.
Yeah.
The goal is for people to leave with the name of Jesus. And I know that's really like cliche and like churches will say that, but like it really is hard to do when you have the facilities that we have and we have the blessing of this space that we have. For someone who is sitting out there and maybe they're, sitting out and watching what we do and they're a musician, I guarantee you the first thought is, I want to play on that system. I want to sing on that, And so like the thought of getting out of the way is such a vital component to as we onboard our people and just remind our people like, hey, yes, what we get to do is really cool. It's really fun. But like you've got in your heart and in your mind, you have to be like intentionally getting behind the curtains, because you've got to allow Jesus to be the very center of that. And that is a heart thing, right? I mean, you could say it all you want, but it's a heart thing. And so, and probably no matter how many years you do this, like it's something you battle, something you maybe not battle, something you have to like keep again, hold in that healthy tension. So
That's good.
I have a question. I want to talk a little bit about what we plan and build for Sunday.
You got a Cracker Barrel notification?
I did. Hey.
Are you subscribed or?
Apparently. A reward. Wait for my birthday.
Wow.
But I would love to do like how we build the weekend experience. Like what are some thoughts that you think would be relevant to share? I think, again, most people just show up and they experience it. But when you're on the other end of the table, you're responsible for picking the songs, figuring out the flow of the experience. And we have other things that we integrate with, sometimes with worship, whether it's baptism, whether it's a moment to how do we lead our church around a song. Like we try to build things like that even after the message. And so I don't know if one of you guys want to talk about what's your approach to, okay, I don't know, how far out are you trying to plan stuff? What if you know the theme or you don't know the theme? How much you're using the series content to help drive that? What's the goal for picking songs? Is it by musicians who we have available? Like, let people behind the secrets.
You want to lead that since that's kind of...
Man, I'm like, where do you want to start? I think basics, we on average do about like 3.5 songs on the front end and maybe like half song on the back end. We typically start with a bigger, high energy song.
Why?
Why? Because we enter his gates with praise. And people are tired and you want to wake them up. No, I'm just kidding. I think the biggest thing is I like to think of like the journey that we're taking people on, or like I think whenever I plan, I like to picture myself sitting in there, like what would make sense. And so we use themes to do that. We use songs. So it's like there's logistics of like the keys of the song. So it's like if this song is in the key of A, then we'll probably want to go to like the key of D or the key of, you know what I mean? But I think we start big to wake people up, to have fun, to give God praise, and try to like transition to have give people more like reflective space to encounter God, pray. And so I would say we pick them based on if we're in a series that's hitting on a certain topic, or like if I know that you're camping out on a certain scripture, I'll try to find songs that will like emphasize that same scripture or that same theme. And then another thing we do is we throw it out to our worship leaders, like, hey, what's a song that God's really been using in like your life or in your quiet time, and try to find opportunities for them to then like lead that song, because if God's been using it in their personal life, they're going to lead it so much better. It's going to mean so much more to them. And then I would say we find inspiration from everywhere for music. My favorite is the church lobby, when people let me like listen to songs right then and there and tell me I need to do it.
That's
where I get most of my
I was going to ask, how often do y'all have people make recommendations?
Every week.
Every week. Emails.
This week,
What was it?
this week was a list of songs from Suno. So that AI app.
Yeah, we are. Next week we're doing all AI worship music.
So I mean, kind of like what you're saying, like I feel like there's a lot of these rules that doing this as long as you and I both have, that like I think if we were to sit down and think, like you mentioned keys, right? You mentioned songs that fit the theme. Like I think it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I've thought through what are all of the kind of unspoken rules that we do, because it's just so ingrained. And like, I think you started like, what's the journey we're taking people on? And I think that's, the goal is to have a church experience that is not disjointed and not unorganized, and but it doesn't necessarily mean that if your sermon is talking about the grace of God, that every song has to sing about the grace of God. And that's like another one of those kind of unspoken rules. Is like, oh, you don't want to do too much. Like you still want to be creative, but I think there's the musicianship side of it, of making sure that there's not odd transitions between keys, but while also making sure that the key of the song fits the worship leader's vocal range properly. And from the flow of songs, like it's, a great movie is going to take someone on a journey, and I mean, a great book is going to take someone on a journey. And so we have like an hour and 15 minutes. And I think with what we know about, the human mind and the human heart, we really do try to utilize a lot of that to take our church on a journey to point
Yeah.
people to Jesus. And so I think, and there's ways that you can do that with the keys of songs and the style of song. And, I mean, you mentioned the phrase quiet time, and I think there's something about, that stillness that God can use to speak to us in pretty unique ways. But if we started every Sunday with a stillness, people would probably still be asleep.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're going to create that moment, how do you get people there?
Yeah. There's also like the idea of we love to have new songs. Like we believe that there's so many gifted worship leaders and songwriters, and we've written songs, and it's cool to introduce new songs, but there's logistics of like, okay, I'm not just going to schedule a new song every week. You know what I mean? I want our church to get familiar with it.
Yep.
I want people to learn it. And so it'll be like, okay, we're going to schedule this song, and then we're going to schedule it the next week, and then we're going to give it a break, and then we're going to bring it back. And then it almost feels like it's integrated into our library per se.
Yep.
But I think that one of the biggest things is the transitions and how anybody can do karaoke and play 3 songs back to back. If that was the goal, then we could just show the videos of other musicians and we could have a whole lot less coordination. But I think thinking through like, okay, we're going to go into song 2 and this song's about thankfulness. And so I'm going to use this moment, this like 30-second intro, or like maybe we double the intro and we give the worship leader a little space to like speak into it and almost like set up the song. Like, come on, church, we're going to sing about thankfulness today. And one verse that's spoken to me about thankfulness is, you know what I mean?
Right.
And giving like not just singing songs, but leading songs and helping our church like really get after the theology and the depth that's packed into some of these songs, I think is really something that we try to sit down and think about before we get into a practice. Or
Do you think if people were to sit in on your team meetings and tech meetings, they might be shocked by the amount of things when it comes to transitions? Are you laughing at me? Because
Yeah, I was just saying.
I'm not talking about my technical knowledge. That is astounding. But let me say it this way. I think sometimes people may underestimate the level of intentionality that's brought into it. And y'all can riff on this how you want to riff. But one of the things I actually think too, because people come in and they're blown away by worship. But also people that have been in church for a while, when they walk into a church, also have opinions, whether it's a song you should do or y'all should do it more like this or more like this. And everybody brings their denominational background. One of the things I think that makes this really special and powerful is y'all have created a deep bench of worship leaders, but you two primarily lead and steer the ship. But you two are unapologetically unique to how God's wired you, which I think is really special. I'm curious if you could let us into your minds how you think through not just preparing, but leading, knowing that you're both who God's called you to be. And any given Sunday, you have people, number one, on all kind of different faith journeys. People that don't believe in God, all the people that have been following Jesus for 30 years. And then within that category, you have people coming from Baptist backgrounds, Pentecostal backgrounds, liturgical backgrounds. Then you got all different kind of personalities in the room. And you got people in the room that may be on cloud 9, or maybe they just like buried a loved one. How do you think through, because I imagine it's a tension to think through, creating a space where people can come as they are, be themselves, and yet you're trying to lead them somewhere they may not even know they want to go, need to go. Just curious, how do you think through that? What's that like? Is there a tension or?
I mean, I think, even like Tucker and I are very different in how we're wired, and I think there's a lot of really like healthy things that come from that. But I think one thing I've loved about the worship culture here is that there's this great mix of, you said it, unapologetic, right? So kind of unapologetically, like this is who we are as a church. This is kind of what we are. But I think there's an authenticity, I would hope, that shines through it that like most people, if it's not their preference of style or song or worship leader, I would say that most people see an authenticity from whatever's happening on the platform.
Yeah.
To where that's probably going to connect with with them, because that is like we're trying to connect with our people.
Yeah.
And so like it'd be one thing if we got up here and played just like the most epic songs and just with the, like, and we do, but like if that were our focus, then but not a connection.
Yeah. He's good.
I think that that would be very evident. There'd be an authenticity, and I think like we're gonna have different opinions. So Tucker really leads the direction of where we're going for music. He schedules, and I've loved just getting to kind of watch him like build that. We've said it before. I've said it to him before. It's like there's things that he does that I would never do that way.
Like what?
But that doesn't mean it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I, full transparency, it took me a long time to get to where it's like being okay saying like, oh, his way's fine on this, or you know what I mean? Because it's like the way that I'm wired, I think through every scenario and option, and in my mind, it's the right thing. But
I think of one.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not. But like, he'll have something very different at times that my first human reaction would be like, I wouldn't do it like that. But what I've seen is like, one, I know his heart and I know the authenticity that he brings, and I've also seen like countless times where in my head I say that's not what I would do, and been like, wow, that was epic. Or that was very powerful, or that was a really special moment.
It's cool.
And so I would hope that that's kind of, it goes back to the authenticity. Like there's an authenticity, I think, with what happens here on the platform that I would hope people pick up on that bridges those gaps of preference and style.
That's cool.
And in like coaching, like I would never coach worship leaders to like, you just need to like jump around more. You need to like raise your hand like a lot more. I think I just want our team, because we have so many different personalities, and I just want to give people a space to be who they are and be who God created them to be. And I think that, even if you were to look at me and Trae on the platform, like we both respond very differently. And I think that there's beauty in our team to have two leaders that maybe like Trae is naturally more introverted and I'm like even more introverted. And so to see that difference, to just give people a space, like if you were to see someone who is reserved and shy, like jumping around and punching the air, it wouldn't feel like them. Like that's not how God wired them. But if you were to, like whenever I walk in a room and I'm not jumping up and down, skipping, people are like, what's wrong? Are you okay? And so I think that it's like, that's something that I feel like early worship leaders like really drove into people's heads was like, you have to be like the most energetic in the room and you have to be like jump up and down. And it's like, if God's not wired you to be like that, then worship God and be in his presence the way that you do when you're at home and you're by yourself,
I feel like we tell our team often like we want you to be you, and for me, I mean, that does mean I have to like dig a little deeper in, if I'm naturally an introvert and naturally more comfortable behind the scenes, but all of a sudden I find myself on the platform front and center, I'm gonna have to dig a little bit deeper, and so I think that's the, for some of the people on our team who might be more introverted or less apt to be bubbly, and it's like, I'm not asking you to be someone you're not. I am asking you to dig as deep as you can so that you can connect with the people that you're in front of.
And I think we go back to what Scripture says.
What Scripture says, worship.
And like there is something about raising your hands or like dancing in the presence of the Lord. You know what I mean? Like there are things that we can come back to Scripture that's like, okay, even though this might not be my personality, or maybe this is my personality, like this is the why, or this is what we come back to, or why we ask our church to do that,
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love the fact that you guys you bring definitely, I think that's one thing people may not know, because if they're not here behind the scenes, they just see what's on Sunday. They can get an idea of something, but I really do want everybody to know they're super authentic in how they approach it. You guys kind of have your own, you almost kind of represent, I would say, different sides of personalities in worship. Again, that personal, but I love what you said. It's like there's what we feel more natural doing, but then there's also what Scripture invites us to do. So sometimes you got to dig deeper to what makes you uncomfortable, and sometimes you need to pull back from what you might do because the moment requires you to lead people in that way. And I think the heart of that is that we're just trying to figure out how to lead people into God's presence. That's the goal. That's the heart, and I love that about our team. And I've seen you guys and our team just expand exponentially in the last many years, especially since we moved in this new building. The culture you guys have built, a lot of people don't know this, they practice during the week. You guys do devotionals with the team when you get together. You're trying to lead them spiritually, it's not just come and sing songs. And it really, I think what you experience in the room really comes from an authenticity of how you guys lead. So I just want to say thank you for that. I know we've got to wrap up. This time went so fast. And I have so many things I would love to talk about. Maybe we'll do another one on worship at some point. I wanted to kind of just end. I have a few questions that I'd like to do. I'm so curious. These are meant to be more rapid fire. Some of them I thought of, and then I'm like, okay, what else? I have a list of a few, so I just want to ask them quickly. Favorite instrument to lead with?
None.
Guitar.
Guitar? Yeah. Okay. Favorite instrument to play?
Piano.
Guitar.
Guitar? Yeah. Okay, guitar, piano. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you out of this. What instrument were you going to say?
Trombone.
Trombone? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I love it. What's your favorite key to lead in, to sing in?
B.
Tucker's like,
I have no idea.
you don't know what your favorite key is?
No.
B.
He knows it's B.
What do I sing the most?
Oh, probably D. Probably F
really
sharp.
C.
You don't know.
I love playing the guitar in the key of C, though.
Well, yeah.
So if I can,
'Cause
if it fits, then I'll.
There's a reason for that. What, only one flat?
No, guitar, just the chord structure.
The chord structure?
Yeah. I mean, on piano, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
okay.
easy.
But you're thinking guitar.
But guitar, yeah. It's like,
Okay.
What key when you used to lead worship?
Oh, probably it was either D or G. I feel like all of the songs back in the 90s were like D or G. Was Heart of Worship. What key is it in? You should know. We're doing it. Is it E?
D.
It's D.
D.
I think it's D by default. The original was. But every song back in the 90s were. It's funny because you did the song in the key that it was in, and you might have adjusted it, but you almost never had songs in flats.
Wow.
Because we're probably acoustic guitar led. It was just, it didn't, what?
it doesn't work for the band.
Yeah, and so you wouldn't lead songs, but we do.
Yeah.
We do
Especially
songs or
two
whatever.
songs in E flat.
It's like that. We probably never done that back in the 90s. So so much has changed. I recognize a ton has changed musically in the church. Like, it's just so drastically different than back in the 90s. What about this? Okay, I just want to know. Have you ever had what's the most embarrassing moment in leading worship? Like, fail, lyric fail, music
I've
fail.
put my capo on the wrong,
Capo on
on the wrong fret.
wrong
And
fret.
I started a song, and the band came in wrong, like in the right key. So I guess it made them look bad. It's just kind
Because
of
you started it, so they all sounded like they were off by at least a half step.
We had a
I can
Christmas
think of yours.
experience.
Christmas is outside. Oh, that was so good.
Platform in the middle.
The middle of the room.
Yeah. And it like had this video that led into it. It was like a blackout. Lights came up and I sang the first, like I was planning on singing the first like minute a cappella. And then the keys were supposed to come in behind me and then we were supposed to finish the song. And so I sing the first little minute and I'm like, I don't remember what it was, like, have yourself a merry little Christmas. And she didn't come in and I looked at her and I was like, no keys? No keys. All right, let's move on.
And literally, we didn't even do
down.
the element. The lights went
But I
back
was like,
down. Someone had to fire the next thing. Oh my gosh.
There was nothing I could have done.
Oh my.
But naturally, I recorded it, like screen recorded it and posted it, capitalized on my. I was in control of the narrative.
There's so many things that happen. It's so fun to do ministry with you guys, and we have a lot of fun. I think when we're planning weekends, we really do. We will wrestle over the minutia. We'll be like, wouldn't it be better? That key to that key transition, that's going to be rough. Is there a better way that we can do this? And I just appreciate that you guys bring your excellence in what you do and how you guys lead our church in worship. It's one thing I think we can count on. I think a lot of people who come here can count on. They show up worship leading is going to be excellent. Worship itself is going to depend on the people. Let me just say it that way. The worship leading is going to be excellent, but people need to bring themselves into it. And so thank you for what you guys do. I know you got to run. We've gone to 45 minutes, but it's been a fun series doing this. I've enjoyed it. I feel like we've done so many different things. The choir, starting with message up front, worship, and other forms of music that we did, and the style that we brought to it. And it's just been kind of a really cool series. So hopefully people are, I'll leave it with this last thing, and then we'll close off. I have a friend who I had been inviting to church for years, and he started coming to church kind of all of a sudden. It was just really an answer to prayer. He'd been on my prayer list probably a couple months ago, gave his life to Christ, has been coming ever since. I saw him on just one of these past Sundays when we were doing the worship series, and he came up and shook my hand. I was talking to somebody else, so I knew he was here. He drives a long way just to get here, and he called me and left a message, and he was like, how can I find out those songs that you guys are all doing on Sunday? And I think those of us who've been around church for a very long time, what we do on Sunday is very familiar. Mm-hmm. The songs, I mean, I joked about ones back in the 90s. You get people who don't go to church and they step in, think about their whole world is like, I've never heard, these aren't on top 40. I don't know these songs. But what I loved was the series about worship, him getting the significance, was him going, I want to learn these songs. How do I know this? So the first thing I did was I sent him the link to our X-Worship Spotify. And so for those who may not know, we have a Spotify playlist that is sometimes up to date.
Okay.
Tucker?
Currently up to date.
Is it currently up to date?
It is.
Okay.
Well, we're in a worship series.
So hopefully it is. And so if you go on Spotify and you just do a search, how can they find it?
Yeah, you search XWRSHP. And there's not many people named that, so it should come right up.
And so there is a Spotify playlist that we try to keep up to date of the current songs in our library. Mm-hmm. So it might be a lot more songs than you'll hear maybe over a month or two, but those are songs that we're doing in the past year and two. And you'll try to put new songs on there that we plan to do. Yeah. So I just want to encourage you, if you want to kind of know the songs a little better, if you want to come and participate, because that's when worship really comes out of this place, is not just when the leaders do it on the platform with a microphone, but when the people who are here actually sing, lift their voices to God. So thank you guys for what you do, and thanks for coming on here. Sharing that.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
One last question. When is the new album?
It's a great question.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drops
Comes
tomorrow.
out tomorrow.
Okay.
Whenever this comes out, it drops the next day.
That would be a crazy way to announce it.
That'd be a really bad way to announce it. It drops the next day.
Yeah. We got a little bit.
So stay tuned. Watch every week, and we'll announce.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, we will see you next week. Thanks for joining the conversation. Hey guys, it's Russ. Thanks so much for listening. We really believe if we can get around tables instead of behind screens, if we can talk to each other instead of at each other, we can make the world better. To help us do that, here are a few things you can do to help. First, if you haven't yet, leave a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe on YouTube. This helps more than you know. Also, if you have been impacted by the community out of which this podcast comes, that's X Church. Maybe you're local or you've been touched by the messages and impact across the country, even the world. I want to encourage you to support this work. A powerful life principle is to invest in the people and places that invest in you. And so I want to invite you to do that right now by going to thex.church/give. You can give a one-time small gift, a sacrificial gift, or even become a recurring partner. Together, let's keep elevating the conversation, thinking higher, loving deeper, and making the world better. Cheers.